Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. I'm Kiki, and if you haven't been to my channel before, I do layouts and scrapbooking, art journaling as well. I hope you'll enjoy this video, and if it's your first time here, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be notified of my future videos. Click the bell, the notification bell. So today I thought I would do a layout flip through. I haven't done one since I did my first one for the quarantine period. And I've done quite a bit recently. I'll just give you a quick show here of what we're going to go through. So there's quite a few layouts that I've gone through in the last few months. And I thought I would show off some of the layouts that I've done and some of the special techniques that I've used, things like that. So why don't we get started? So this particular one, I love Mouse in the House. These are all the towel animals that my husband and I took pictures of when we were on our cruise. And I thought they deserved their own layout. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to be scrapbooking all of my cruise experience. And the towel animals, if you've been on a cruise, you know that they're definitely part of the experience. So what I did is I used a hexagon stitched, you can see in the papers especially, like there's a stitching line, so it's like a false stitch. I'll hold that up there so you can see it a little bit better. And I use this die. This is a new die cutting die from Close to My Heart. Excuse me, it's available now and it's in the core catalog, so you'll be able to do that. And I decided to actually use it on my photographs as well to give them this sort of interesting shape and design. And then I've also I created my own little mini envelope for my journaling in here. So I've got a little piece of paper with my journaling. And this little envelope was also created using a Close to My Heart die that just came out. So I hope that you enjoy this little layout. It was really fun making, and I've used some Vicky Bouton papers that I got in my SCT sampler. So that was a really fun one. And of course it's called Mouse in the House because I found that the little mouse was just the cutest. The journaling talks about how we almost missed seeing him because he was only peeking out from underneath one of the pillows. So that's a cute one. And next one that I did, I wanted to scrapbook some of these pages, some of these photos that we had done and gotten taken back in, I think it was the fall last year. We went up to Burnaby Mountain, and so I have these great photos that are sort of like, landscape photos. And I decided to use the Simple Stories, Simple Vintage Great Escape collection. I've used it quite a bit actually. And it's one of those collection kits that I just can't get enough of. And honestly, if I can find another collection kit, I will definitely pick it up again because it had just so many cool things in it. I've used some of the Close to My Heart Julep Sequins. All of the ephemera that you see here comes from Close to My Heart, so this was a fun page to do. And of course, I distressed all the edges and inked around them to give it a really distressed look. Next up, again, we've got another layout using Simple Stories again. This time I used some Heidi Shine's Heidi Swap Shines Color Shine Spray. So I've used some of the green, and then I also accented with some of the Julep gems that were available from Close to My Heart. And I think you can still get them online, but they are going to be discontinued because they were the color of the year for last year. So if you like that, if you love those gems, then make sure that you pick them up. And I'll see if I can link them below. So this was a trip that my husband and I took this winter during the quarantine period when things finally had opened up, I think, or actually maybe prior to it. So this might have actually been prior to the quarantine because I don't have a mask on. He doesn't either. We were around lots of people, so no. So these were pictures that were taken prior to the quarantine, and we're up at Prospect Point in Vancouver. And it was my husband's first time there. So you can see it's a winter picture because he's got his little bear fur hat on. Then I've got some pictures from a summer trip that we took to a park that's just outside of Vancouver, that's on the Sea to Sky Highway. And this one again, I used the same Heidi Swap Shine Sprays. So you can see some of them. I don't know if you can or not. There you go. So you can see the shimmer. They're kind of hard to see through the camera because they've got like a real gold sheen to them. But again, I did the hexagons with the die cut from Close to My Heart. And so this page came together really easily. I love that using that hexagon die, I can get more pages or more photos on a page, and they work so well together to create an easy and simple design. So again, we've got some more. These are cruise pictures. These are pictures that we took in San Juan, I want to say, in Puerto Rico. And yeah, San Juan. And this was one of the locales that we went to. It was an old fort, and it just had beautiful views. So my husband and I took some pictures there. I wanted to use up some of the scraps from one of my kits that I was trying to bash. So I took some of the extra papers and decided that I would actually do banners with it. And then I used some acrylic stars. So you'll see the rose gold acrylic stars. Those are available from Creative Embellishments. I won those in a challenge, I guess, that when I was posting and used their products. And I've added some sequins, and I love these sequins. These are from FSJ, I think it is. And then some wood veneer. So it was just an easy, simple layout. And I think it was just, I loved the way it came together with all the different pattern papers. Again, another cruise photo. This one I had done for a challenge on Cooking with Creations using doodling. So I doodled the border. I also wanted it, I used a paper that's kind of like an ombre that goes, you know, blue to green. But I needed more, but I didn't want to add a ton of embellishments to this one because I wanted, excuse me, I wanted the photos to really stand out. So again, this is from that castle. The acrylic word is from SCT Sampler, which is a great investment. So look that up. I'll leave a link if you like in the description box, or if you need it, just leave me a comment and let me know what you enjoyed. And if you're enjoying this layout flip through, by the way, please like my channel. That really helps me out a bit. And also subscribe. And to be notified of the next videos, you just have to click that notification bell and you'll get a notification. So yeah, this one's kind of a fun one. And I'm using some Puffy stickers that were also in the SCT sampler. This one was kind of fun. This one's using all the SCT sampler with the exception of the sprays. And so these were 6x6 papers that we got, and I decided to layer them out around the page, make this page about food. This was also for a challenge for Cooking Up Creations. Go and check out their website. It is, the forum is full of challenges. There's a daily challenge, so make sure you check that out. This one was all the decadent desserts, or some of them that we had on our cruise. And I loved all the stickers because these ones actually have like little acrylic parts on them as well, and they're puffed up, and I just thought they were adorable for this. Then I did a layout using an older collection. So this was from my DIY kit that I had done. You can look at it in the process video. I really wanted to bash more of it out. And so what I did, I grabbed some of the papers, I randomly layered them. I was almost scrap lifting a photo that I had done in digital format a while back. So I decided I would kind of do that. I'm using various embellishments from Prima that I had, and some gems that were from Prima as well. So a lot of Prima embellishments here. And for the most part, the papers are from that kit. And what I did too, to just make it more interesting, is that I sprayed onto a craft tag with the Heidi Swap Shine Spray, and then layered my title on there. And that made it a little bit more interesting. So I really enjoyed this particular one. I did the watercolor kissing effect too as well in the back. to give some more interest to that cardstock background. Then I've got, again, another cruise photo. Surprise, surprise, lots of cruise photos. So this one, I'm using a rub-on Bon Voyage for the title. I stitched around the edging in black. This was a particular page that I had done as a guest designer for Scrap the Boys. And I used, again, my summer DIY kit. So this was more of the bashing of it. I stitched all of the tags or the banners down. I've used some canvas, you know me, and some flair. The flair was from Creative Embellishments, I think, as is the chipboard. And so I decorated the chipboard with Heidi Swap Shine again. It does a really good job of actually covering chipboard and wood veneer. Like nobody's business, let me tell you. Super easy to use, and you can change up your wood veneers and your chipboard easily. And then I needed for my, I think I was following a sketch on this, and there was like a round section here. So I decided to use a doily for that and just leave it uncolored because I didn't want it to distract too much from the photos. But this is my husband. This was the first night we were on the cruise. We were headed toward the Bridge of the Americas to head out into the Gulf and, or out into, I guess, the Caribbean. And my husband was holding my drink, and I thought it was just too funny that it looked like he had 2 drinks in his hand. So took a picture of it. Thought it was pretty cute. Then we have another challenge that I did for Cooking Up Creations, and that was white plus 1. So it was, my challenge was white plus purple. And this was a layout that was inspired, oops, that's fallen out a little bit. Let me just, I want to push that down a little bit more. I'll have to re-glue that on. This was a challenge that was inspired by a video that was done, I want to say by Redefined Creative in Facebook. And so it was, she had done a layout inspired with using washi tapes and just sticking to that for your background. So that's what I did, is I pulled out all my purple washi tapes, the ones that I thought went well together. I also happened to have some stamps that were designed like washi tape that I had won in Scrapbook contest many years ago. And so I decided to use those. So those are around the page in different shades of purple in distress ink. The chevron as well is also a stamp. So is this polka dot. So is this music stamp here. So it's a mix of actual washi and stamped washi. So it was a lot of fun. I added some purple enamel dots on there, and it all came together, especially because my husband's wearing a purple shirt as well. And it's just some photos, some goofy photos that we took. Yeah, I think it was last summer or maybe the summer before. Then I have, this is a beautiful collection from Close to My Heart. It's no longer available, but it was part of the brushed Bring Back My Pack. And so Creative Close to My Heart actually takes some of the most popular collections and puts a spin on them and brings them back later on occasion. So especially if they were popular and there's a lot of demand to bring them back. And this was one of the collections. So I used all of the papers. What I did is I really distressed them, layered them on top of each other, had flowers sticking out, used some of the stickers. I used some of my old flowers, a die-cut camera that I had bought from Etsy, and then some of the acrylic hearts that you saw from Close to My Heart. And then I also, in order not to leave the white too white, I actually used the new stencil that I had purchased. And then I've got, again, the Julep Sequins and Gems from Close to My Heart. This particular one I did for CSI Scrapbook challenges, and I won, I think it was last month. No, I won in July. So, so this was one of the stories. They had a mood board that you had to follow, and it was full of old-fashioned things. Like it had a bird cage, and it had old candy dishes and things like that. And I was inspired by the colors and also by the bird cage and some of the old designs, the teapots and things that they had on the pictures. So what I did is I grabbed some of my old Prima papers, and so I've distressed some here. There was also old text, and I found this old text paper that I had that was from Prima as well. I really distressed the edges and inked them up and curled them to make them look like they were very old newspaper. Then what I also did is I had a photograph of my mom and her sisters when she was younger, and it was originally black and white, and so I used some vintage photo from Tim Holtz Distress Inks and made it more vintage. Really, I didn't want it to be too heavy, but I wanted to sort of sepia the photo a little bit, and so that's what I did there. And then I used a lot of Prima embellishments because they had a collection that was sort of based on these older sort of things. So it had like the crown, and it had the bird cage and keys and locks and things. And I just thought it would come in perfectly. So that's what I used. I called it Sisters. And oh, there we go. The Prima letters are terrific. They're beautiful, but they're not super sticky. So you got to be careful. So I'm going to have to remember to actually put some glue down on that one. But I do love the cottage roses and things like that. It does have quite a bit of dimension. I'm not really worried at all about it getting all, how should I put it, crumpled or squished. Not worried at all. And then I also had some old, I think they were Tim Holtz rub-ons, and they were white. And so I put them on randomly to make the paper look a little older and a little more interesting. So it was a lot of fun to create. It was very, it was very technique based. So it was a lot of fun. All right, then we've got another layout that I did. This one was for, again, Cooking Up Creations, White Plus One. I had chosen peach, and so I stuck with the white and the peach. There is a little bit of tan in here, but not much. And I'm using a lot of Prima. I'm using some papers that I had found in my collection that had peach. And I used the stencil. The whole stencil is what created the background. And this is using the Georgia Peach Spray by Heidi Swap. So it's the Color Shine spray again. So that's my kitty, and I called it Perfectly Content. Then we have another close to my heart collection. This was actually done. I have a layout video for this one. This one I was challenged with the For the Love of Crafting and Sharing. We all did a theme on It's Getting Hot in Here, and I had all these photographs of sunsets, and it was sunsets and sunrises actually, but yeah, I think they're all sunsets in this one. And I had this paper collection from Close to My Heart that I had purchased many years ago, and because it went from like this coral and it was kind of ombre, I really thought these pictures would work amazing with it. So that's what I did. And then I embellished with a lot of Prima flowers. This particular word came out of another SCT sampler, and what I did is I used stickles to make it more interesting. I put on, like, you can see the effect. It's got this really kind of goldy greenish kind of color to it. And there was also a sticker or two in here that came from the SCT samplers, as well as the camera there. So it was a lot of fun to play with. The little hearts are also from that SCT sampler. This particular one, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, this was an older photo of my husband and I at the Tulip Festival, I think. Or no, it isn't the Tulip Festival. This is actually in the Vancouver area. So I had, again, an older collection that I wanted to use. I wanted to bash out a little bit, and I also wanted to use brads. And so for this particular one, it was really interesting. I saw some videos on how people use, they're using brads to actually layer on buttons, and you just poke them through the buttonholes. And I thought that was just genius. So yeah, so I used those. I wanted to put on lots of buttons and just kind of get all of this out onto the page. I was using a sketch from this, And as well, what I did is I popped up the chevrons here, and then I put the rest of the title on top to give it some more texture. I really love this page. Then another white +1. So this one was mint. I decided to use, these ones are some chalk inks from Prima. I don't think you can find them much anymore, but anyhow, I used the stencil and just put some chalk ink through there. I did have a lot of mint in my collection. I had a lot of washi that was mint. I had some flowers, some other embellishments. So I decided to do a cute little date night layout with that one. And that was a lot of fun to play with. One of my favorite layouts to date, and I know I say this a lot if you watch my channel, but I really had an amazing time doing this particular layout. I did not do a process video for this one. It was really labor intensive, so I didn't think that I would be able to do it justice with a process video. Again, this is the Simple Stories Simple Vintage Great Escape collection, and this was the first layout that I did with it. I also used some creative embellishments chipboard that I used embossing on, and I did the embossing very rough because I didn't want it to look too glossy. I did want to give the leaves kind of a texture, you know. So you can see, like, as I turn the light there on the leaves, they're kind of bumpy, and I was really pretty happy about that. So what I did is I chose a pattern paper from the collection that I thought was kind of boring, and didn't think I was going to use it at all. But what I did is to make it more interesting, because this is all the background paper, and then it had like some leaves and stuff. It was kind of, I don't know, unusual. But what I did first is I added some texture paste to this through a stencil. I had a stencil that looks like wood texture, and so you can see it there. You can also see it through here. So I put that down on the page first and let it dry. And of course that crinkles the paper a little bit naturally, but I'm okay with that. Then what I did is I used some Heidi Swapp Shine Spray, and I did it in 2 different colors. I did it in the green, or actually this might be Lindy's. Come to think of it, these might be Lindy's. So Lindy's Gang Sprays. This one I think is called Milk Chocolate, and then the green one I'm not entirely certain what it is, but it's got this green and this gold. It's got like gold mica in it, so it's just stunning. So I sprayed that to just make, you know, and let it drip in areas just to give the page, the background, more interest. But I wanted to put down 4 photos, and I backed them with the same plaid paper that came in the collection kit. That way they were unified. But then when I started playing with the embellishments, I also used this sort of topographical map paper in the background and really kind of distressed it, tucked it in behind. So there was a lot of use of the different papers in the collection kit. But then when I started playing with the ephemera, I kind of went crazy. And so it was a lot of fun. I mean, I started tucking in, I started doing some small clusters and things. But then when I started creating sort of this particular area, I found that it just started feeling like I was walking through the woods. So it says Joy right here, and all of the texture, there's so many different layers in here that when you look at it, it's so three-dimensional. It's almost like you're sort of going into the forest. So there's like a layer of like mushrooms there, and then a layer underneath that of the mushrooms. Then I've got this branch and some mushrooms behind that and some fern behind that. And at first I thought, oh, it's too much. And you might think it's too much. That's okay. We don't all have the same taste, but I just love how this turned out, because it really, to me, it was all about walking in the forest. And this was totally the page that could give these pictures justice. So loved it. This one here was done for the Scrap the Boys, and so our challenge was Scrap the Boys. I'm trying to think. No, I don't think it was Scrap the Boys. I think this was also done for a CSI challenge, and there was a mood board. Might also be Scrap the Boys, not 100% certain. They might have had a pink and bluish mood board at the time as well, but I know that I had put them in both. So, but yeah, so what I did with this one, I kept it fairly simple. I just distressed some papers. I used a banner in there as well. I cut a banner down here at the bottom with the plaid paper. Tucked in some tags. I had some stars. I had these Heidi Swap acrylic kind of, I don't know, these are acetate, I guess, acetate hearts that were stenciled. And then down here, I had the black or the blue and white stripe, and I wasn't thrilled with it because it just wasn't, I don't know, there was just something about it that was just kind of throwing me off. And I found this tag that I also had. This was a tag I think that also came out by Heidi Swap many years ago. And so I layered it on top of that blue and white paper, and that created the title of Love This. And then I stamped Man of Mine with my stamps. So it was fun. I used some of the watercolors, which was kind of fun, and just kind of made it really splotchy, and gave it some distress stamping there as well. This particular one, this cruise, I loved doing this. This was a lot of fun. There is a process video for this one. This one here, I used the Creative Embellishments chipboard, and what I did is rather than emboss it, I actually created it, created the texture effect with gilding flakes. So the gilding flakes are actually by Cosmic Shimmer. So this is the gilding flakes there. So you can see inside, you get a variety of blue and silver, and they're a little messy to work with, but a lot of fun. And so what I did with these is that I just used the cosmetic sponge, and I sponged down the art glitter glue from Cosmic Shimmer, and let that set for a little bit. That's really the trick with these glimmer flakes. And then took a, what was it now that I used? I think it was a sponge brush, just the kind that you can get at the dollar store, because once it's got glitter on it, it's pretty much useless. And then I just pushed the glitter onto the chipboard and wiped it away. But there is a quick look at that in the process video. So this particular card here, I had cut out from my silhouette. And again, here I'm using the Close to My Heart Seize the Day paper kit. On to this one. This one I had some real trouble with. I still haven't even journaled it. But I did want to get these photos scrapbooked. I did want to make it fairly simple. I wanted to use some of my old papers, again, bash out some of my old stash. And so what I did is I did a lot of die cutting of these little flowers, and for the paper pack that I had left over, I cut out this sort of paper flower cluster, and I just gave it a quick title. Not one of my favorites, but it was fun to try. This one here was kind of fun to work on. These are all little paper strips that were left over for scraps that I had. I used some stenciling. I wanted to scrapbook this photo of my husband and I in, I believe that was St. Martin, and use up some extra little embellishments that I had. This one was super fun. I was inspired by something that I think I had seen in Scrapbook and Cards Today, which was layered papers. And this was an old collection that I had from, I want to say, Cartabella. So I put it through a paper punch, and I just layered all of the different layers, put the two photos. Actually, this might not be Cartabella. This might be Simple Stories. These might be Simple Stories papers. And so what I did is I just used the Project Life cards that they have, or the cut parts, and then just layered my photos on top just for some fun. This one here's a picture of a recent trip that my husband and I, or I say recent, but I mean really it was like last Thanksgiving, in Lincoln City in Oregon, and we went to go and see my in-laws. And the place that we went for dinner was called Moe's, so it's called Best Day at Moe's. And we took some pictures on the beach there, and I loved how it turned out. I love all the different papers, all the different textures, and how the photos really are what you are drawn to. And I used some different mixed media sprays as well to give it some more shine. And then last but not least, this is a layout that I had done using a simple, again, I think it was the SCT sampler. Again, I stitched out, this was one piece of 6x6 paper by Vicky Boutin. And so what I did, I did want to do sort of like a sunburst kind of effect, but I took the one paper and I cut it apart. And when I did that, layering it all differently, I just loved the angles that it gave and how it was really different. And so I stitched those, put them down. I tried to do the watercolor in the background as well so that it goes gradient with the colors. So it goes from the blues over to slightly greenish orange and then over to the reds over on this side. Then I also used one of the papers and cut apart a lot of the flowers to create my own ephemera. I've got some, again, Creative Embellishments chipboard. The little acrylic flowers, or the acrylic hearts, I should say, were also in the sampler. The sunglasses were as well, so I just embellished those with some stickles as well as the heart. All the little pieces of embellishments that you see are pretty much from the SCT sampler. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be doing another share fairly soon. And I have another video coming up where I'll be doing a DIY kit, so stay tuned with that so that you can see what I'm doing and using in September. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to stay safe, everyone. I would love to hear which layout was your favorite, so leave me a comment. Share this with your friends if you enjoyed it, and let me know if you had any inspiration from it, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and click the notification bell to be notified of my future videos. Have a great long weekend, everyone.